The country's persistent water and electricity interruptions could lead to a food shortage. That's the warning from experts in the agricultural sector. Now, a number of areas have been battling water and electricity outages due to infrastructure challenges. Just how bad is it? Let's unpack the story with Roux, who is with Mabroor project. And you'll tell us whether we're pronouncing this correctly, but essentially it is an organization that looks at partnerships and investments in water and agriculture, correct?
Yes, good afternoon, Michelle. Good afternoon to all the viewers. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Yes, so we specialize in alternative investments with a focus in agriculture and with the sectors being involved on the livestock and crop production. And yeah, like you said in your intro, water is very important. Water is a key input for human, livestock and crop production. And unfortunately, South Africa is a water scarce country. And due to the underinvestment in water infrastructure of the past, a lot of good water goes unused and basically goes to waste. And the negative impact of that is crops and livestock, or most of the agricultural products are quite sensitive to water. And you can't really delay water or irrigation when it is needed or when the animals need to get fed. So I think the main challenge for agriculture, for the agri-space at this stage, is having access to good, clean, sustainable water sources at affordable prices.
And, you know, you're saying that as sort of a line, having good and reliable access to clean water, but that's a bigger ask than actually just that one sentence, right?
Yes, I know it's quite a loaded answer. Yeah. So yeah, in terms of water quality, I think it must just be fit for purpose. So there is a difference between the water quality required for human consumption versus for agricultural uses. But as long as it's meeting the required standards and norms applicable to the various sectors, I think, yeah, that will be sufficient. So I think it will be a good opportunity for the new government to, yeah, do proper budget allocations and to improve and to basically expand the water infrastructure in South Africa. I saw earlier on your program that they're already busy with such a program in the bigger Johannesburg area for the urban water supplies. So it seems like things are moving along in the right direction.
So, you know, when we talk about how these electricity and water interruptions could impact us insofar as food security or insecurity is concerned, are we quite a long way still about talking about being food insecure?
No, I think we are actually quite close to being food insecure. I think the challenge is becoming food secure. So it's basically a double-edged sword. On the one side, you need sufficient water of the relevant quality to be available, and then on the other hand, most of the big irrigation schemes in the country are reliant on Eskom for their pumping station networks. And what we've seen in the past is that these stations fall into different categories of the Eskom load shedding or power scheduling network, meaning that water can't be moved around the areas where it is required because the pumps are not synchronized and doesn't have any auxiliary power. So it has caused some disruptions in terms of getting sufficient quality, sufficient water in enough quantities to crops, to livestock in time. Farmers have been trucking water for long distances, and they've also become a lot smarter in the way that they utilize the water in terms of storing water, in terms of irrigation, as well as how they manage underground water to the best of their ability, because ultimately it's a finite resource and we need to look after it, seeing that South Africa is a water scarce country.
Yeah, absolutely. And I imagine, you know, the measures that small-scale farmers, for example, and perhaps even the larger scale farmers put in place to ensure water security and to ensure that the pumps are running and they have electricity and backup generators and that kind of thing, it surely filters down. That cost must filter down somewhere, and that money must be recouped in some way. It certainly adds to the pressure that consumers already face.
It does, certainly it does. Because at the end of the day, it all adds to input costs. The agri sector has been quite innovative and has adopted solar power for battery electricity backup and to keep the pumps running. But at the end of the day, that requires capital outlay that must come from somewhere, and it adds to the production cost. So, yeah, basically the aim of the agri sector was basically to become a bit more sustainable and self-reliant. But yeah, it doesn't come for free. So yeah, that's actually where we as the agri sector is hoping that the government, the new government that is will be formed shortly, will give some policy certainty in terms of agricultural, to prioritize food security and to give some policy clarity regarding that, because ultimately food security is in the interest of the country, and that's an investment in the future.
Yeah, and I suppose,
of the country and the people.
Van der Bijl, thank you, and sorry for the interruption there, but I suppose more than just what the government will do, it's going to be about collaboration in the sector, right? And when we talk about collaboration in the sector, what does that look like?
Yes, definitely. That is a very good observation. So a model that has been working quite well is a public-private partnership. So basically where government provide resources or make resources available, the private sector has the necessary skills and knowledge to deploy these projects successfully. And then if you can marry the two, you will end up getting a very successful public-private partnership. Us as a firm already have such a venture in place in conjunction with the Eastern Cape government. We were actually assisting rural communities that farm livestock to implement better practices to produce better quality cattle and to become more sustainable over time, to ultimately benefit their communities and put food on the table.
Well, let me thank you for your time this afternoon. It's such an incredibly important story that affects us all. Van der Bijl Roux is with Mabroor projects. You'll forgive me for that. But yeah, we're talking food security, we're talking about water scarcity, and of course the unreliability of the electricity infrastructure as well.